This episode is brought to you with the help from Nubelity. Nubelity is your go-to IT partner offering tailored solutions in talent acquisition, infrastructure support, network reliability, and cutting-edge AI. We help you stay ahead by turning technology into a strategic advantage for your business. Nubelity, turning your challenges into powerful opportunities.
All right, well, welcome to the Vikings Press Pass here on a wonderful cold Friday. I'm Matthew Nickel, episode 19. Joining me today is the assistant coach for the men's basketball team, Malik Wildermuth. So, Malik, thanks for joining.
Hey, Matt, thanks for having me here.
Absolutely. Well, hey, let's start off a little bit with the Vikings. Off to a 6-3 start. It's really some of their best starts since about 2019. What do you feel like's been kind of the recipe for success so far early on?
Really, yeah, it's a great start that we've been off to. Really just locking in day to day, focus on winning the day and focus on each task. And I think that's what's been the biggest difference. And we got a very experienced group here with some new guys that have been stepping up, but just taking each challenge and each day, trying to win each opportunity that we have.
Yeah, absolutely. So when I think a little bit about, Coach Delp, his kind of first full year, you were promoted, to the assistant coach. How do you feel like this year, from a team mentality, preparation, how are you guys just kind of approaching, each game a little bit different maybe than where you were last year?
I think it's something that we really focused on in that second half of the season last year as well, but it's really just focusing on us and our rules and our principles and the things that we want to do and how we play, and just kind of figuring out where do we have to make any adjustments in each game depending on what the other team wants to do, and trying to dull some of their strengths that they have, but really focusing on us and the way we want to play and how to execute that, depending on how the opponent wants to play, and really keeping us first, because other teams are going to do a lot of different things, but it's about us executing our game plan and sticking to that to give us the best chance to win, and not worrying too much about the other team, but what we're doing.
Yeah, absolutely. How's like some of the players' roles kind of changed? We actually have like Sean Kelly has come in, has played, quite a bit of minutes. What are some of the other folks has there been some different role changes, and, are we asking, some players to do maybe something a little bit different than, what they've, been doing maybe for the last couple of years? How's that been kind of working in kind of managing that from your end?
Yeah, some things have been different, but you look at our box scores and there's different guys leading stats every game, and so obviously Sean coming in has been huge, and he's really added, especially on the defensive end for us this year. And Ray has really stepped up after his first year and has been helping inside and then on the glass. And so some things are different, but there's different guys stepping up every game, and I think that's the thing that we always talk about, and we always have that next man up mentality. And so we're ready to just fill the roles, and we don't expect anything different out of anybody except for to be, who they are, and coming every day to do that. And, there's some obvious things where, Danny Romero hasn't played as much this year as he did last year, and he's still here every day working just as hard as he was when he was starting the majority of the games last year. And that's kind of the mentality that our whole team has taken on, coming in every day and just working hard and being ready to do whatever's called upon. And so, some of those roles, have changed, overall when it comes to playing time, or maybe different amount of shots or things like that. But our guys, really the good thing, they're not focusing on that and just ready to step up and help as it comes day by day.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Well, it's interesting. Earlier this morning, I was kind of going back and forth with Matt Snyder and Bob Quillman online. Matt does the D3 Datacast and stuff for the D3 Hoops, and certainly he was talking a little bit about the CCIW and obviously Illinois Wesleyan kind of reigns supreme so far. Nationally they're doing really well. But he's like, I'm not quite sure, where the CCIW kind of stacks up, and I'm not ready to put Carthage in there, and so I kind of fired back like, when we look at the last couple of really successful programs we've had, 2016, 2019, there's a lot of eerily similar statistics in the trajectory this team is on. So it's kind of interesting when we look at like the 2016, 2019 teams. Both started 7-3. Both are averaging 75 to 78 points a game, and they're like a +7 versus opponents, and we're at 74 and a +6. And defensively we're probably a little bit stronger than we were then, averaging over 8 steals per game, where we were at around like 6 from then. So so when you start to dig in and look at some of the stats, there's a lot of similarities on paper, which I think me as a fan, as alumni, I get super excited about. It's why I sit up on Thursday night and dig through some of this stuff for no reason that my wife can understand. So, but it really feels like, you and this staff have really kind of right-sized, I think, the trajectory of the program, and I know just outside looking in feels amazing. So.
Yeah, our guys have been doing a good job, and it's nice to hear that some of those stats and things are online with some good teams of the past. And obviously, with Coach Delp have played here, and I've played against Augustana and been around and seen them. We're trying to go about things the same way that those teams have. Obviously, we're doing some things in some different ways than they have in the past. But the way to get those results is still kind of same in that mentality. And so, to see those results starting to happen is great. And we just want to keep going, day by day, and live through, those standards and that mentality, and hopefully continue to get those same results, because it's shown in the past that that's what it takes. So that's what, that focus really has been.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I think a little bit about Wednesday night. Let's talk a little bit about Knox College, because, we walked away with a 113-65 win. How was that for, a nice boost of confidence coming off kind of those back-to-back losses with, at North Central and Carthage?
Yeah, no, it was a good bounce back game. The good thing, we really, shot it in. We've been struggling a little bit statistically, as people can see from, shooting from, especially from the three, so far, other than Tyler still hot from last year, shooting it great. But, it was good to see some other guys start to get it falling, and Anthony Cooper got some going. And, Knox was a team that we knew, people might look at the record and be like, oh, this should be an easy game for it. But we really had to work for them. They play real hard, and we were a little bit worried on the glass, and still gave up 12 offensive rebounds, but they were averaging around 13 to 14 a game. And so they still made us work, and long and athletic. And so seeing shots go in against some guys that are going to play that hard and have that type of length was good to get back on that right track, and, hopefully lead into these last 3 non-conference games to get going in a conference, and hopefully continue to see the ball go in.
Well, and, you talk about just Knox playing hard. We're talking 5-6 minutes still left in the game. Yeah, they're down like 35-40, but they're still running full press breaks. And they're still challenging the ball. So, when I think about, a game where the score is so lopsided, I think I start to think about like, well, what becomes important to you, and how you coach and kind of what you pay attention to. How does your mindset maybe shift a little bit?
Yeah. Well, like, obviously execution is big. But for us, a big thing that we talk about is ignoring the score and staying together and keep coming. So, like, we're not going to try to run up the score, and hopefully it didn't look like that in that game, but we weren't going to change what we were doing. We might not just press and trap and be trying to turn them over all over the place, but we want to stick to what we were doing. And so even when we subbed in some of those guys off the deeper in the bench at the end, we wanted them to play the same way, the same focus and intensity that we did when the tip went up. And so, it doesn't change too much, especially, with those younger guys maybe dialing back and really focusing in on those reps and trying to execute at a higher level. But the game plan has to stay the same. And we know, and we've been a part of some good comebacks and been on the other side of some teams going on some runs against us that we know you can't change how you play no matter what the score is. or you might get yourself in a situation that you wouldn't want to be. So we had to make sure that we finished the game either way with whoever was out there.
Yeah. Well, I think what was nice, I mean, at 6:48 left in the game, like you were able to go kind of deep into the bench and get some, I'll call them meaningful developmental minutes, for some other folks. So, how important is it to really maximize those types of opportunities, for the younger guys on the team when you get it?
Yeah, it's huge. That's a goal that we have in games. Like we want to go out and execute and really try to enforce our will on other teams and get to where we want and put in those situations where some guys can get in. And the awesome part about that everybody knows we have a lot of seniors. And so there's going to be a lot of young guys with not as much varsity experience going into the future. We're taking everything game by game right now, but a lot of those guys that were in and some other guys who aren't dressing yet are going to be called upon here in the future. And like I said, we always had that next man up mentality. You never know when injuries or something like that could happen. So to get those guys in there and let them have some reps and see the ball go through and have some successful plays is awesome, and it will definitely pay off here in the future too, whenever their time's
Yeah,
called
absolutely. 100%. Now, I mean, so in your role, what kind of role are you playing, and what are some of the responsibilities you have, during the game?
Yeah. During the game, I really touch on a little bit of everything, and so I'm watching a lot of defense and matchups and stuff like that. Keeping track of the little stuff, the fouls, timeouts, and those things, but making sure that all of our guys are coached when they come off the floor as well. So a lot of people see a lot of times when guys get subbed out, I'll get up and follow them down as they high five all their teammates and kind of talk about some little coaching points. But really just focusing on those and staying in Coach Delp's ear about any adjustments or subs or things like that. I think could help in making sure that he's always having some different ideas or being ready to hear other ideas from our other assistant coaches to throw his way while he's in the heat of it, walking the sidelines and very tuned into what's going on right there on the court and making sure none of those little things get overlooked as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And changing a little bit here, a little bit of direction, because it's a little bit of a recency effect, but the preliminary injunction, that happened, over the last day or two around Juco eligibility and the Vanderbilt quarterback, that not going towards some of the eligibility, and obviously it's still early on. There's appeals and some formality that needs to probably kind of work its way through the channels, but I think a little bit about someone who helped recruit Sean Kelly, who came from Cleveland State. As that ruling has come out, or you start to hear a little bit more, what's kind of maybe your initial reaction to how that could impact kind of college recruiting, high school recruiting? I know I'm kind of putting you on the spot here, but it's super recent, so just curious on your end.
Yeah, it's an interesting thing. First Coach Lamont and I actually joked about is where our 2 extra years of eligibility are, because we were both Juco products. So I don't know if I get my 2 years back, I might enroll in our CSD program and suit up for the Vikings. But no, it will be interesting to see. I know it was a big bomb that was dropped that everybody was feeling like they're going to have some extra years out there. But I'm not sure how it's going to affect things. It could go in a lot of different ways, and it'll be interesting to see. I think it's still a long road before we know how or what it means and what the NCAA is going to do about that and how it could affect things. So I have a lot of ideas and theories on where it could go, probably more than we have time to talk about. So, but it will be interesting. Like it could be great, and where it could be in situations where, like Sean Kelly or Jamal Winston could get an extra year or so. I don't think we're going to have any idea on things like that anytime soon. I'm sure there's going to be a lot of appeals, and that's going to go back and forth for a while.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's just, again, it's how the college landscape, right, continues to evolve, and so much focus is placed, at the D1 level, but it's like, you take a look at, the talent and, across the D3 and the competitive landscape and it being the biggest division, of college sports. I mean, I'll be curious to see, how schools kind of pivot, a little bit over time. Now let's talk a little bit about your journey to Augustana. So this is your third season on staff. So how'd you get connected to the program and kind of what drew you, to Augustana back in 2022?
Yeah, so back then the connection actually came through Dylan Sortillo. So I've known Dylan for a long time and played against him in AAU. Had worked out with him actually going into before my senior year at Central. I had actually worked out with Dylan and a lot of the Augie guys down when Coach Delp was doing full-time skills training. And so I was there and got to really build that relationship with both of them. And when Dylan got the GA position at UIC, he had reached out to me about my interest in possibly joining the staff at Augustana. Coach Jesse had asked him, was there, anybody that you knew of that would, potentially be interested? And I was kind of transitioning, leaving Marshtown Community College and looking for my next step. And, it kind of just worked out. I had some other interviews in some places, and the connection of being from the Quad Cities, where, this is where I was born and my family is all here. And this opportunity was something I couldn't pass up, and, kind of a full circle moment for me, to be honest. And so that connection with Dylan and Coach Delp and just a familiarity with Division III and CCIW and Augustana was something that, brought me back here.
Love it. Well, I mean, it's a great happenstance, I think, from our end, that you're here because you've been a great addition, I think, to the staff and what you do kind of day in, day out. It's, it shows. And so I think the Viking program is in some really good hands for quite a while. So feels pretty good. Who's been like pretty, as you take a look back at like your career, who's been maybe some of the most impactful folks, that kind of helped, to kind of mold and shape you, in the basketball world? Yeah.
So this one, all the Augustana and Viking people might not want to hear this too much, but actually it is two Illinois Wesleyan Titans that have really spurred me to this moment. So like I said, I was born here. Me and my twin brother were born at Illini Hospital over in Silvis, is what it was then. And she was in her sophomore year at Illinois State. And so she had us up here and went back down there and finished up college. And in that time, she was getting her athletic training degree at Illinois State and did a lot of her clinicals and things at Illinois Wesleyan, and was around the men's basketball team, was one of her sports. And so two twins on that team, Chris and Corey Jones, babysat us. And so we were running around the Shirk Center and going to different road games and things with them. And actually, we were at the first CCIW tournament hosted here in that 2000, I think it was 6 season. We were here with Illinois Wesleyan watching them. And so, they played a big role on me getting into coaching. Chris Jones had coached my brother and I in AAU for a little bit in elementary and high school, or junior high, and have been somebody that I really looked up to, like one of those first really impactful people and coaches in my life that I got into it because I wanted to have the same impact that he had on me. And I, have other coaches like that as well. Bob Fitzgerald, who was my head coach at Normal U High, is somebody that had really helped me and somebody that I've worked with a lot and has talked through different things in my coaching journey. And so a lot of that spurs back to growing up in Bloomington Normal. And then, other people just really helped me too. And, Coach Delp helped me learn the new side of the developmental and skills development side of, been big on the X's and O's and want to continue to help our players get better, and something that he's an expert on. And so I really tie into that. And so, those three people have really helped. And so at different spurts and different places in my life and career that helped me get here. So even though it started out with me being somebody that cheered on those green guys down south, it's all led to me being here and happy to be here, and the impact that they still had on me that hopefully I can pass on to our guys here at Augustana.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it just continues to show, like, the network, right? It's close, it's tight knit. And at the end of the day, you never know who you're going to be, impacting, when you're interacting with them kind of throughout life. So that's an awesome story. You were, thinking a little bit about at Central. You were a 2-year letter winner there. A couple of things stuck out, and I kind of teased it here a little bit earlier in the day, but when you look at school records, you still have the most steals in a game. That's 8, and that was against Faith Baptist back in 2017. But your individual high of assists was actually inside Carver against the Vikings back in 2016. So, as I was kind of digging through some of those stats, it's like, you had some 32 points, I think, against Luther was your highest, and then I saw, obviously you had like 9 boards against Grinnell was high, and do you remember playing here, and what was kind of that thought, when you were stepping into Carver, as a player?
Yeah, there was a lot going on with that one. We had a couple players that were out. That was actually my first start at Central in that game, and our 4-man was out for a little bit in that first half, and so I started at the 4, and I'm coming back home, and my whole family was at the game, and so that was nerve-wracking. I would say the 8 rebounds was probably the only positive thing I had in that game. So thank you for not telling my shooting numbers from that game, because it was not pretty. But in that game, it was a lot. I started the first half at the 4 position in my first start, and then in the second half, I started at the 3 because our starting 3-man broke his elbow in the first half of that game, and so it was kind of up and down. But I think after that, I really kind of got rolling, started becoming more of a consistent starter, and so it wasn't the best game from my stats and our results, because I think we ended up losing that one by like about 15 or so. But it was special, and I was glad that my first start at Central could be back here and in front of my family, and it led to some good memories for the rest of my time there at Central too.
Absolutely. Now, you also played against Grinnell, and I think that's such a unique program. They value the 3/2, the volume shooting. That entire scheme kind of really emphasizes individual roles and responsibilities, and the 5 in, 5 out shift changes. I mean, it's a little bit like hockey. How would you describe playing defense kind of against a system and a team like that?
Yeah. Well, defensively for them, it's just kind of locking in and really making sure we're meeting guys when they pass half court. And for them, I coached against Grinnell in the Midwest Conference at Illinois College as well, so I kind of know a little bit more about their system, scouting it. And they have shooters, they have rebounders, and they have drivers. And so we had to know and identify everybody's role and make sure that you know who you're guarding and what they want to do, and really try to turn them into more of a half court, because they do have some things that they're not getting deep into sets, but you can slow them down a little bit and hopefully get them at least 10 seconds or so into the shot clock, and slow them down a little bit. So it's really just kind of knowing what they want to get into and what the role is of each of their players while they're out there. And that part's not as fun, because once we get a shot up, like, we need to sprint back. And at Central, our goal was to not shoot any threes. And actually, I think it was like a year or two after I left Central, they won that game without taking any threes. I think there was an article somewhere about it that it was pretty big, and like the most shots and field goals or something like that without a 3 taken, which is the opposite when Grinnell also holds the record for only shooting threes and the most made and taken threes in a game too. So it's definitely interesting, and a different style to play against that. When it's a one-off game, can sometimes be tough, but also seeing it twice a year in the Midwest Conference, it can be hard to play against. And sounds like I think they're off to a pretty good start to their year right now too, and so the system's going strong.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting. As I was just looking through kind of your history and playing and coaching against them, and I took my son to a couple games, last year, and had some connections to him, and it's unique, man. It's certainly unique in how they kind of approach the game, and it's interesting to see how different teams kind of respond, there as well. And now thinking a little bit more about like on campus. Now, do you have a role full time on campus as well in addition to coaching?
Not anymore.
Okay.
The past 2 years, I've had two different roles though. So when I first got here, I actually like pretty much completely took over Dylan's role. So Dylan was working in admissions as an admissions counselor, and so I kind of filled one of those spots that they had open there and was coaching. And then this past year, before I moved up to full time coaching, I was a career coach in our core department in career development. And so, yeah, I kind of dual rolled it. And the second half of last year was kind of crazy, almost kind of doing two full-time jobs. But, it's been awesome. And, now it's nice to kind of only have one main part to worry about. But I, use that experience from those two positions in this spot as well, too. So.
Well, and I saw today, the Augie email came out, and our athletic director, he always has a kind of a spot in it, and was kind of prefacing, the move of like the softball field and sounds like a lot of investments in kind of campus enhancements are coming specifically around like athletics. So, I'm curious to see, I can't remember how long they talked about that being a plan, maybe like a 15-year plan. But I think about continuing to invest back into, whether it's the PE center, becomes a PE field house or something. I'm, not entirely sure. But a ton of investment I know coming in the athletic side. I know I'm super excited about. So certainly looking forward to that here as well. And now, for the holidays coming up, so tomorrow is the last game before the Vikings get kind of a short break here, really about a week. What are your kind of plans, family-wise, over that week?
Yeah, no, it'll be a good opportunity to kind of, get back and unwind a little bit. And, really, I'm still trying to figure out my holiday plans. I'll be with my mom's side of the family, and we go out to our family's church usually and have some Christmas Eve tacos, taco bar, and we'll hang out and play some games. And then I got to figure out what I'm doing on Christmas Day. I usually go to my dad's house, but my stepmom decided she didn't want to do all that this year. So I got to figure it out, but I'm sure I'll spend a lot of time with family, probably just watching the NBA matchups and getting ready. I'll be out on the road recruiting on the 26th and 27th. So probably just a lot of relaxing and enjoying just some chill downtime with my brother and my family as well.
Now, well, that's a great segue because, in the staff directory, there's a nice kind of Q&A, and I think you would maybe, I don't know if you call yourself a taco connoisseur, but you're talking about having tacos here around Christmas, and, that's something I know you mentioned in that Q&A. So, in your opinion, maybe this is a local sponsorship deal you can get going here, but who's the best tacos in the Quad Cities?
Man, now that is tough, and that's the one thing that my role change has probably hurt is my ability to get out and really trying some more tacos. But I do love Mexican food, so that one's a little harder. I do love Adolph's. So I'll go there a lot. I do frequent Old Mexico right down the street here in Rock Island. So, man, I don't think I want to mess up any opportunities either and like make any enemies. So I don't think I can quite say yet that I have a favorite. I need to get back out and make a list and really check them all off. But those are some of my top spots that I go to.
Now you also mentioned you enjoy going to movies. Is that still, kind of a hobby of yours, either go to movies or take in some movies from time to time?
Definitely. Shoot, this little car over here over my head is a Deadpool on top of a taxi there that I got when we went to the new Deadpool and Wolverine movie. my brother and I actually went and saw that Lion King Mufasa movie last night. It was actually pretty good. So yeah, we go out and see just about anything, the Marvel movies, the Star Wars for sure. Get out and check out those. So any free time, a lot of time in the summer, go there. One of my cousins actually works at the movie theater in Davenport, so she gets us some good discounts on some popcorn too. And so, you know, I would say it started out as I really just like movie popcorn, and then I might as well go to the movies too and actually see one. So, you
Yep.
know, I always use that opportunity whenever I get the itch for some movie theater popcorn to check out almost anything that's there.
So, if someone sat you down and said, okay, Malik, 3 movies you get for the rest of your life, that's the only ones you can watch, what 3 movies do you think you would choose?
Man, that is a great question. Um, it'd probably all be Marvel movies. So I would probably have to do Black Panther, the first one, um, Avengers Endgame. Let's see, is there anything else I can throw in there that's not a Marvel movie? And Coach Carter. That's probably my top
All
one,
right.
Coach Carter, and I'll throw in the basketball one as well. Coach Carter is a movie that I watched growing up that I loved and made me look forward to high school basketball, even though I probably didn't need to do some of the things they were doing in the movie, and luckily wasn't. But
Yeah.
that's one of my tops as well.
Coach Carter's a good one. Yeah, me and a buddy of mine, we used to love, we were in high school, Sunset Park. That was probably one of ours, a little bit of a period one. We always enjoyed that one. Like Coach Carter. It's actually one of the few DVDs I do own is Coach Carter. So it's a good little
Can't
movie.
can't use that as much anymore. You still got a DVD player?
I got an Xbox, so
Okay, see,
so
that's what I use my PlayStation for. I keep the
yep.
disc in there. I didn't get a full digital one, and just in case I have a DVD I want to watch.
Yeah, no, it's funny. I found at work. I found a CD, old DVD, and I'm like, there's nowhere within my company to watch this thing anymore. So I had to I was like, I wonder what's on this, because it was, we're not talking old, we're talking like 2003, so 21 years ago. Man, it feels old. But I had to pop out my old Apple laptop, to even check out and see what was on this thing. So, technology, it's interesting. Well, hey, looking ahead to tomorrow. So the Vikings are, on the run at Benedictine. What can the Vikings expect, from the Eagles tomorrow afternoon?
Yeah, yeah, no, they're a good team. They're going to play fast. I think they're scoring around the upper 70s, low 80s in most of their games, and they're averaging, and they're starting to get on a roll. They've won their past 2 games against conference opponents, and actually played at Wisconsin Parkside on Wednesday and had a 6-point lead going into half. And Parkside kind of went on a run to finish the game and end up, winning by a good amount. But it's going to be a tough team. It's going to get out and run. They're long and athletic, so I actually think, playing against Knox on Wednesday was a good preview for some things that we might see. But I think it'll be a good challenge going into the short break that we have before the holiday here. And so, we're really looking to kind of be challenged here, and it's a good game going into these last 3 conference games or non-conference games before we start conference back up. So we want to play with pace too, and there's so we're looking forward to that, but we got to slow them down as well, and hopefully continue to keep our shooting percentages up, and try to limit theirs a little bit. But it's going to be a good challenge that we're looking forward to on the road here, and a team that they're 2-1 at home, and their one loss has been against Wisconsin Lutheran, who's been a top 25 team all year, and I think they only lost by 7 or 8. So I think we got a good challenge on our hands, and I'm looking forward to the opportunity for us to go out there and compete. And I think we've been playing good basketball so far, so looking to continue it.
Absolutely. Well, then the first game back, after, I think is the 28th. That's youth night. So, or camper night, I guess it would be. Do you want to maybe share some details about what camper night will kind of entail?
Yeah, yep. So a camper night, as long as we want all the kids to come out, wear their camp T-shirt from the summer, and that'll be good, so that everybody knows that they can, get in free from there. Yeah, that game's against Bethel. What time we got here? 3:00. So we encourage anybody and everybody from the community. I think it works out great with everybody being on break there and right in between the holidays to come on out and check that out. And there'll be an opportunity after the game. I think we'll have some some posters ready for all the kids that our guys will be there to sign and hand out and get to interact. And a lot of at least our freshmen every summer get a work camp and work with a lot of those youngsters that come in. And so it'll be a great opportunity for them to come, see those guys that, they worked with in the summer, but also get to meet the rest of our team and get to interact there. So, we're really hoping to get a good crowd. And even if your kids didn't come to camp, we would, love anybody and everybody to come on out. And, we'll make sure that we have plenty of posters and our guys are ready, and hopefully have a good crowd and can get a good result too for everybody that shows up.
Absolutely. Well, I know me and Wyatt at least will be there, so I know he's looking forward to that night. So heck, as he does, if there's anything going on, he's like, hey, can we go over to Augie and watch a game? Men's, women's, doesn't matter. He loves being over there. So it's so certainly looking forward to that game. But Malik, appreciate again, finding some time, in between practices here. I know as you get set for tomorrow. So again, it was great to connect with you. Thanks for jumping on here and talking Viking basketball.
Yeah, no, thank you for all that you do, and really putting this together to show for our student athletes. And thank you for putting me before those next 3 men's basketball guys you have coming on, because I don't know if I would have been as good of a follow up to them as they will be for me. So, but no, thank you again, and appreciate it.
Absolutely. We'll talk to you soon.
Yep.